To another episode of Dangerous Knowledge. Checking in with my guy. This is Gio Husar. He's got a massive social media following, mostly on TikTok, of over 350,000. And I found when I was looking for answers, his name came up time and time again. And with my background in economics, with my background and awareness of politics, I was blown away by just how much this man knew. And he's got another gift. So not only does he know a lot of stuff, he has a magnificent way of explaining it. So I was lucky enough to find him on Instagram, and I messaged him and I said, look, man, I would love to talk to you because you have such an in-depth knowledge and you can explain to so many people, including my friends, family, fans across the world, what's going on now that we've got Trump as president-elect. We want to know what's going to happen. So my pleasure to welcome you here to Dangerous Knowledge. How you doing?
Doing well, Knowledge. Thanks for that intro. That was really generous.
Hey,
I should play this to my wife just so she'll be nicer to me. Be like, look, people respect me.
yeah. Well, I mean, you were invited to a NATO summit, right?
I was invited to the NATO summit, the 75th anniversary in Washington, D.C. this in July.
Wow.
And I attended the UN summit this September. That was very cool. I forgot to mention, I got to interview the Nigerian, I think the Nigerian Foreign Minister of Technology, but his name is Dr. Bosun Tijani. And
Okay.
he gave a speech at the UN summit. And I don't know, he was the most interesting person there. So as soon as he got off the podium, I had like someone at the State Department with me. And I was like, can I interview the guy? And the State Department official was like, sure. And so I went up to Dr. Tijani very quickly and I kind of spooked him. I was like, hey, can I interview you? And he was like, what's going on? And then I guess my State Department handler was like, don't worry, he's an influencer. He wants to share what you're doing to his
Right.
followers. And I interviewed him for 3 minutes and he told me something very, very eye-opening. Because I have a feeling like I think the next renaissance is going to happen in Africa. I don't know when, maybe in a
You
few
know what?
generations.
I feel the same. I
Yeah.
feel the same.
And he said, I think there are a lot of things holding Nigeria back. And what do you think is the most crucial thing? Like, what will get rid of a lot of obstacles for Nigeria? And he said, fiber optic cables. He says we need to be connected. He says that, Nigeria has maybe 30,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable, but they need like 125,000.
Hmm.
But he's been working on it. He's actually been securing deals to implement that. And I think that's going to be huge. I think if the Nigerian government is more interconnected all across the country, I think it can help them with a lot of regional instabilities. So that was
Right.
really interesting. I really liked that. And I'm going to post that interview up on my Patreon at some point. It's just, I didn't have my microphone, so the sound's
Right.
not good. So I'll have to put transcripts out.
Right. Right. Now, you know, you said something interesting here, and you talked to a man in Nigeria, and he gave you an answer of, it's not we need more of this and like this plea that's going to be interesting for social media. It's we need more fiber optic cables. So like
Yeah.
something very mundane, but it has such a massive impact. And I
Yes.
think you touched on a key point here, which is there's critical infrastructure. There's things that we just need to build, whether it's
Yes.
physical, mental, spiritual. And these have been stripped, I think,
Mm-hmm.
from our society here in the West, here in the United States. And, and that's why it's so important to get in depth and to get a deep understanding. And the more we can help connect more people, just as
Agreed.
in Nigeria, they need it, we need it. We might
Yeah.
have the physical infrastructure, but we're not getting the key drivers of stuff out. I mean, you have a degree in economics, is it?
Yeah. In economics, that's one of them. Yep.
Okay, okay, and what else?
I have a bachelor's in mathematics and I have a master's of science in statistics.
Okay, I mean, all these things are important to understand because you gain a deep and profound understanding of math, and you see the math of networks, you see the math of science, you see the math in economics, and can integrate those things together. And I think maybe that's why you're so good at what you
Well,
do. But
let me just correct you. It's really nice. It's very ego inflating, but those degrees are all useless if I don't apply it. You know what I mean?
sure,
Like it's like if I didn't pay attention to like just the data that I do every single day, then I would be completely useless. I would just be someone who could brag about titles. So you could have all
And
the
you've done
degrees in the
that
world, but if you
for
don't
sure.
apply what you learn every day, then you become worthless. So
I totally agree. And some people have PhDs and are still, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I know plenty of PhDs who are useless. So the
right.
degree means nothing.
Agreed. But you have applied it. And that's why I want to talk to you about, this election. So we just had Trump get voted in. He's
Yes,
made a lot of promises.
yes.
So I've got questions on how does he make these things work, right? So he's done a bunch of appointments already. We might talk about that too, and the impact those guys are going to have. But let's just get off the top. I've got a list here, and first on the list on day one, we will begin the largest deportation operation in American history. How does that look? What? I mean, how many people are going to get deported here? What are we talking?
I think the claim is 10 million now. They're saying that we have 10 to 11 million immigrants who are eligible for this mass deportation. And I think that's all hot air just because, I mean, we rely on this permanent underclass, especially like undocumented migrants, to pick our food and build our homes and cook in our restaurants and
Right.
just clean
But aren't,
everything.
aren't they taking jobs from Americans though?
They're taking jobs that Americans refuse to work, aside from maybe cooking. Um, there's a lot of construction work and of course a lot of farm work that's just brutal. I mean, let's just say farm work. I mean, a lot of these farms are in California, Arizona, the Southwest, which is extraordinarily hot. We're talking what 100-degree days. Like
Right.
how many Americans are willing for $15 an hour? These undocumented workers are probably getting between 9 and 13. Like how many Americans would work for 15 bucks an
Right.
hour?
But I mean, then maybe it's a good thing. Why don't they just increase the wage of these guys and give these jobs to Americans then?
Okay, so how many people would work for $15 an hour, like for 10 to 12 hours a
Well, if they
day?
don't, then they'd have to raise the wages they're offering, right? I mean, that's what
Okay, so
economic.
even $25 an hour,
So let's say
you
let's say
know?
let's say that they'd have to do that. Wouldn't that be a
Okay,
good thing?
I mean, it would be great for the people working that job, but then, let's say 15 to 20% of all agriculture costs are wages. So if that doubles, then guess who bears the brunt of that cost? It's not going to be the corporation. It's going to be,
The
you. It's going to
customer.
be you who needs your food.
So you're
If you,
saying if I'm paying, $1 a pound for apples, they're going to be $1.20 now.
yeah, exactly, $1.20 or maybe $1.50. And think about this: it may cost that much just, the wage increase may cost that much just for the producer, but then wherever like it's not like the producer immediately puts the food on the storefront. There's transport, there's storage, there's everything, and who knows how much more costs will trickle down that way as the domino
Okay.
falls onto the
Right.
consumer.
So okay, that being the case, but Trump's also promised to cut inflation, to get rid of it, as far as I know,
Yeah, yeah. How do you cut inflation if there's a shortage of goods? If there is a shortage of goods,
or shortage of
prices will
workers.
always rise.
Right.
So you have workers that are getting paid more money, but you have half the labor force in agriculture that you normally did. You need the time to sift through the Americans that would actually be willing to work that job. And I bet you like we're talking most optimistically a year to replace that labor force. And while that's going on, food is rotting off of the vine. So
Right.
there's not
And
even
but
enough
I mean,
food to
how many of those
sell.
people are actually, I mean, but aren't we going to be getting rid of a lot of crime? Like, aren't these people committing a lot of crime?
It's the Americans that are committing crimes. It's the immigrants that are here, especially the undocumented ones. They're hiding. Like just think, if you're someone who traversed hell across Latin America or wherever you did just to get into America, do you really think you're gonna blow your opportunity when
Hmm.
you make it here? When you finally make it to the place that can like save you and your family?
Right.
I mean, from dire circumstances wherever they are. No, I mean, like undocumented migrants, what they do for the most part is they come here, they work a job nobody else wants for wages nobody else will take, and they buy local. Like all of their money goes into the local economy. They pay the most in state and local taxes because they're not offshoring anything like the
Hang on.
multi-billionaires.
But aren't they leeching off the system?
they don't use any of the infrastructure that we pay taxes for. I mean, they use the roads, sure, to get to where they have to go, but undocumented workers, the guys that are hiding, please tell me what resources they're collecting. Are they collecting welfare? I'd like to know how much that is. Are they?
Interesting. So
Well,
you're saying these people are paying into the system,
yes,
they're not getting anything back,
or a
and
fraction of what we get
they're
back.
keeping
Yeah,
our food costs low, so they're
and our
keeping
construction costs, our home costs,
and our homes low.
and our restaurant costs. How many undocumented migrants work in restaurants so we can go out to eat and feel like, hey, I have a decent life?
Right. Fascinating. So, but don't a large percentage of Americans want to get rid of these people?
Sure, because a large percentage of Americans don't know where anything comes from and they don't want to know. It's just like when we had slavery. It's like,
Right.
they didn't care. They just cared that they could get cheap garments or cheap cloth or cheap anything. They didn't really
Right.
care how it was generated.
Right. Right. So, yeah, he's saying, according to Trump, my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every single open border policy of the Biden-Harris administration, and we will seal the border. So, I mean, what does that look like? How does
Well,
he?
let's just think of the costs of first. Let's think of the cost in paying federal employees to go locate each of these 10 million immigrants. I mean, that's a lot. You're going to have to create a whole branch there. And let's say you find them and you apprehend them. All right, fine. When you apprehend these illegals, it's not like you're giving them a bus ticket right away. You're usually putting them in detention. And the lowest cost of detention I could find per day is $130. So
Sure.
$130 times 10 million, that's like $1.3 billion.
Okay.
Like
So,
if you just
well,
had to
I'm
detain them
assuming that
even
they're
for
going
a
to be.
day.
I'm assuming they're not going to get 10 million at once. So, like,
No, no, but I'm just saying if you aggregate everything.
right. So let's say they just start by getting, the ones with outstanding warrants, but then they'd have to find them, which is costly.
Yes.
He's saying he might or he will use the military. So,
All right, great. So we have the military to use. Last I checked, our military resources are spread out, being devoted to other concerns like what's going on in Europe, what's going on in the Middle East, maintaining a presence in China, making sure we can maintaining presence in South Korea because of what's going on in North Korea,
so by
maintaining
China, you
our
mean like on the out in the ocean?
yes, exactly.
Okay.
But we still do have like army and marine. Well, I don't know about marines, but we have army stationed in Japan, stationed in South Korea. I'm not sure about the yes, even the Philippines. So I think our military is supposed to be devoted to defending our country and our country's interests from external threats instead of taking people who are part of our critical economic infrastructure and getting them out of the country. And then just
Okay.
think how much, remember,
Right. Because all this stuff costs time, effort, and
yes.
resources.
And then again, if you
And we're
are,
taking away people that are giving time, effort, and resources
yes,
back at a lower rate.
yes. And just think about this. Think about this too. Let's say you have 10 million people. All right. At some point, like, let's say you could fill a regular bus with 50 people. That's like that's a conservative max capacity for buses. Okay, great. That's 50 people, 10 million, like workers that are going to get kicked out. All right. That's eventually 200,000 bus rides. And that's if it's full of like illegals or are undocumented migrants only. That's 200,000 bus rides. We have 700,000 buses in the country that we're using for everything else. So how much of a negative spillover would it cost to have just these 200,000 bus rides to
Right.
Mexico?
And I'm assuming that's going to be over time. Like it's not going to happen all
Yes.
right away, but it's still even over a period of 4, 5, 6, whatever years it is. It's a lot.
Yes, yes, and it would be bus rides. Well, at least once you get near the Mexican border, it would be bus rides because there's not enough train infrastructure going
And this is
straight to
assuming these
Mexico.
countries will take them back. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, there you go. Because it's not just Mexico. It's Mexico. It's Venezuela. It's we have a huge influx of Chinese immigrants over the past couple of years, just because their economy is doing so bad. Indian immigrants,
So,
Pakistani immigrants,
right. And then
Afghanistan.
he did build the wall, didn't he? Like,
Oh, what did he
did
build? Like 15 to 20%? I don't even know the number, but I know it's far from, it's less than half complete.
but did he get Mexico to pay for it like he said he would?
Not at all. No, Mexico didn't pay for anything. We just paid. I don't know how much money. I honestly don't know how much money went into building the wall, but whatever it was American taxpayers.
So
that
they're
paid
paying
it.
for something that didn't even work,
That didn't work. Well,
and Mexico
40% of
didn't
our
pay
illegal
for it.
immigration is over airplanes too. Just to keep that in mind,
Right.
it's through airplanes. So
Right. So now, how about the tariffs? So what's a tariff? Like, what's
tariff is a
that?
tax on imported goods.
Okay.
So,
So if you're
and
China and you want to bring your widgets, your
yeah,
plastic, your toys for
yes,
kids,
yeah.
and you're selling them for $100 or let's say $1 just to keep the now,
Well,
how much is the tax going to be?
first I just want to say this: if you want to tariff one or two particular sectors,
Uh huh.
like one of China or Chinese goods, fine. That's fine if it's
Right.
strategic and planned, not blanket. All right. So Trump wants to tariff China up to 60% of all Chinese imports, and that's about so. Sorry, 60%. Yeah, of all Chinese imports. Now we get 15% of all of our imports from China, so that's a big deal.
15 to
We
20. So all those costs are going to go up, but isn't that going to help American businesses?
No, because American businesses are heavily reliant on imports from China because it's not like China just sells widgets. They also sell a lot of machinery components. They
Gotcha.
assemble a lot of goods for the United
So
States.
the
So we're
costs
just,
for American businesses are going to go up now.
yes. Well, and here's another thing. And I just saw this post from Alexis and Dean, and it was just great because I talked about how our importers are being punished, because if we put the tariffs on, but China will do retaliatory tariffs.
Okay. What does that mean?
So it means like if China will put a tariff on our goods. So a tariff will hurt our imports and the retaliation from China will hurt our exports. So we're harming both sides of trade with a very long tariff. And remember, it's not just
But I mean, I don't
China.
know, man. I just trust Trump because I mean he's been a successful businessman for so long,
He's
right?
filed for bankruptcy 4 times. And everyone
Yeah,
uses
but
this.
you think he'd learn something from that, right?
Yeah, well, he learned that he can get away with being a failure if he just says the right thing and applies his name.
Huh?
You know, I mean, just look. Okay, my father loved Trump, and he said, "Well, okay, a lot of successful businessmen have filed for bankruptcy." And I'm like, "Okay, please tell me one." I know Warren Buffett never did, Elon Musk never did, Peter Thiel, Steve Jobs, all of these greats that like are incels just worship on their hands and knees. None of them ever filed for
But
bankruptcy except Donald
I
Trump.
mean, he started. Well, I mean, I guess he started kind of good, right? His dad was a developer himself, and he.
His dad was a developer. He
So he's saying
received.
he was a rich kid, and he still went bankrupt.
Yes, exactly. With his family constantly bailing him out. And he's also
Dang!
robbed from his own charities. He started charities and then stole from those charities.
Wow. I mean, where did he make money then?
I know that he was able to, like, from loans he took from banks that were desperate to make loans, like Deutsche Bank. Deutsche
Right?
Bank,
Very aggressive bank.
yeah, they didn't have much presence in the United States. Our
Right?
not a lot of our money wanted to mix with Deutsche Bank,
Right?
but Trump was interested because no one wanted to lend to Trump. So it was a match made in heaven between Trump and Deutsche Bank.
Gotcha.
And Deutsche Bank just kept giving him these
I mean,
loans.
I don't know. He probably made a little bit on his reality shows, I
Yes,
guess. I
but
mean,
I just want to tell you something that Trump said, and this is what makes me very worried on the economic side. Trump gives this amount of advice, and people have touted this, like proudly, that Trump says, "Look, if you take a $1 million loan from the bank and you can't pay it back, you have a problem. If you take a $1 billion loan from the bank and you can't, pay it back, they have a problem."
he said that.
Trump said that.
Wow. What a way to think. And I mean, hey,
It's true, but it's like I don't want someone who got
I
on
wish I
top.
had the ability to create those problems.
Yeah, right. I
But
mean,
yeah,
but just I don't like. I love it if someone knows how to game the system. But if that's the only way they've been able to rise, then they don't deserve to be in the largest position of power in this country.
for sure.
Matt Gaetz stepped down. Matt Gaetz withdrew his nomination.
Oh, he did. Well, I
Yes.
mean,
You know
should we get into that? I mean, here's a guy that's being investigated for,
what? Human trafficking and pretty much
and he's
going
gonna be
after
the head of the
underage
Justice
girls.
Department. It's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't know.
The walls were closing in on him. He
Why,
got the
why
nomination
don't we
from
hire
Trump.
Snoop Dogg as the drug czar while we're at it, right?
I would trust Snoop Dogg because he's
Yeah,
very intelligent and he knows both sides probably. So
that's true.
I
I
would vote
stand
Snoop Dogg for
corrected.
president over Trump in a heartbeat.
Right.
If we could swap, I bet Snoop Dogg, let's go. All right, or Jay-Z, absolutely shrewd businessman,
Right.
perfect. You
I
know,
mean, Warren Buffett likes him, so I'm in. I'm a huge Warren Buffett fan.
yeah,
So
same. You
yeah.
know, I mean, his father was a congressman, but still, it's like, okay, his father was a congressman, but he became the most successful investor of our time.
Right.
So he got the head start happened for the right guy.
Right.
You know, he's a multi-billionaire who has defended, taxing other billionaires. Perfect.
Right. Sounds like my kind of guy. No, I do appreciate that. And
Yeah.
man, it's been so interesting talking to you. You've given me a lot to think about
Thanks, man.
because I mean, for me, I've been kind of sitting on the fence about it, but you've explained things. The way you explain it, it's going to be really interesting to see how this business genius is going to make it work. Because I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
he
business genius. He is a genius at getting out of trouble. He
he
is a genius.
he's got some fantastic skills, man. I mean, how a guy like that is now the most powerful man in the world. You gotta.
I just made a post. I don't know if you saw it. It was a crazy theory because, I don't think Trump is competent in anything that can help America. What if he's the guy who takes down Putin? Did you see my post on that?
I did, and I responded. Did you see what I responded?
I didn't. Oh, okay. All right.
I
Sorry,
did.
I
I
haven't been
responded within a
looking.
minute of it. I was like, I think Putin's got too much on him.
No, the thing is, if
You
Putin
heard
has
you heard what happened on Russian state TV the day after he got elected, right?
what, they celebrated or something,
No,
or
they posted pictures of Melania, and I can't say it. It's basically Playboy stuff,
yeah. Well, dude, I saw that in 2016.
right? But I think that was a signal to Trump saying, "We got stuff on you."
See, the only reason why I disagree is because there's the US's intel is so good that we warn Russia of terrorist attacks that are going to happen to them. Do
Jeez,
you know what I mean? Like we warn our enemies, hey, this is going to happen to you.
right?
Here's your chance to thwart it. And Russia still can't do anything about it, or they have a half-assed response. I think
Well,
anything
to
Russia
me,
thinks that.
I would say it's intelligence is hit and miss, and we get it right more than most people. But that still means it's just like batting. Like if you're even the best baseball players only hit the ball 30% of the time. So you can be the
Sure.
best at CIA, you're still only going to get a certain amount. You know what I
We
mean?
know where every member of Russian parliament is at all times. We know where Putin is at all times. We know
Wow.
where all of them are. We know where every general is, like our intel. Like it's just the president could be like, "Hey, where's General? I don't know, what the heck, Gerasimov." Oh, okay. He'll know in a minute. So that's how infiltrating it is. And I think if Trump is really worried that Russia's going to do something, I think Trump can just go to the CIA or whoever and say, "Hey, I want this problem to go away," and I think we'd see it go away.
You're that confident. I don't.
Who
We've
has the
talked.
best spies?
We've
The best spies in the world: Israeli, British. I think even the Irish, because they spent decades avoiding the British. You know what I mean? Like with the Irish
different
Republican Army.
perspective. Yeah, yeah.
The French are they have a branch of
The
just
Foreign
hacking.
Legion.
They are the most terrifying hackers in the world. And then of course the American CIA. It just
I think we are living in bewildering times.
yes.
I've told you my theory on what's happening with
Yeah.
crypto and the dollar.
Yes.
That's a topic for another day.
Mhm.
But man, it was so cool talking to you because you're such an interesting guy, and I hope people learn something from this.
Thank you, Knowledge.
And we're going to be posting these, man. We're going to be talking some more.
Great.
When he becomes president, we're going to have another one, right? And see.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I love your patriotism, man. It's amazing because
Yeah, man. Greatest country in the world.
yeah, I share the same belief. I have so much love for this country, and it comes from we're both sons
Yes.
of immigrants, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
your family comes from communist era Europe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
I come from former communist country.
yeah,
You
and it's
know?
people like us that appreciate the institutions of the United States and how
Yes.
incredibly important they are.
My
And we
wife's
wish
family.
more Americans
Yes.
appreciated them.
That's it. Most Americans see
They take it
my
for
wife.
granted.
My wife's an immigrant. Her family, they're immigrant, and they're all from Russia.
Really,
They
your wife
love
Russian? Oh,
America. They
interesting.
love America. They can't believe what
Everybody
Putin's
does.
doing.
That's
Yeah.
the most tragic
Yes.
perception I feel
Yes.
of when immigrants come here is they're
Yes.
seen as foreigners, and the reality is the majority of them are like us. We love
They're
this
more
place.
American than your average American, and they
Right,
love America more than the average
right,
American.
right.
Like especially the Russians, the Polish, just the like anyone
Syrian,
from Eastern Europe who's here, the Syrian, yeah. So when they see Americans who are like praising Russia, they're all like the
we're
immigrants who've
like,
actually been there are like, what are these
yeah.
idiots?
Well, let's continue this
Yes,
another day.
exactly. Another day.
Thanks, man. Great
No
having you.
problem.
Stay
Great,
on.
great
Stay
to
on.
be.
Stay on. Stay on. Stay on. Okay. Sorry.